I don't ever expect to be totally cancer-free. My CA-125, which is your marker for reproductive cancer, stays pretty high so far. We haven't been able to get it down near 30. I'm still in the hundreds. And the explanation from that wonderful oncologist, the Indian woman in Florida, is that you have microscopic cancer cells floating all through your body, and they're showing up in the blood work. My job is to keep them at bay, to get out of the way of good health. In other words, to do everything I can to support my immune system so that the cancer can't take hold again. I actually do have 2 tumors. They're about that big, and they're not in any vital organ, so they're not causing any pain or health problems or issues of any kind. They're not threatening my life. So, just getting that corrected. I still have cancer, but I get up every day committed to winning this battle. And the oncologist in Florida, just every time I go for a PET scan or blood work and just visit with her, she says, Susan, I don't know what to tell you. I can't recommend anything in my playbook because whatever you're doing is working. Go home and keep doing it. Just keep doing it. We'll run any test you need us to run to see who's winning. And she is the one who got out a centimeter ruler and said, well, 5 centimeters was about like that, and you're down to 2 centimeters. Y'all, I've probably had warts as a child bigger than some of the 2 tumors I've got. The biggest relief, I was looking for the right term, the biggest relief was when they said the one wrapped around my aorta was no longer, there's not a sign of it, it's gone. Y'all, that was the one I just lived with knowing any day now it was gonna invade my heart, crush the main artery. I mean, that's the one, you know. And so your mind just goes through, it just never quits talking to you about what's going on, what's going on, what's going on, what's happening to you. And it's like, I could just almost some days see it sprouting little blood vessels and invading and you know, just working its way through. And when they surprised me with the news that that's one of them that there's not a sign of, no scar tissue, no damage, not a cell of it still there. It's like, okay, I got this. I can handle everything else. So the 2 we're left with is a very small one that lays on top of my stomach, between the diaphragm and the stomach, and one that's behind my right lung. And the oncologist said, you will probably die with cancer in very old age, because in every other way, I'm healthier than most people in any room I walk into now that I've changed my lifestyle. She predicts that I will not die of cancer if I continue to control it as well as I have. So I still have cancer, and I'm still committed every day to showing them who's boss. I'm stronger than cancer. And I noticed I'd forgotten in that video, I had another Stronger Than Cancer shirt. That beautiful daughter that was referenced and keeps buying me those kind of things. She's playing me on. I want to talk about the blessings of cancer. I know I mentioned it in the end, what a blessing it has been. Somehow on an ordinary work day as a landlord installing an air conditioning unit, I was struck with pain in my side. And we finished up what we were doing and went home, and about an hour later I looked at him and I said, I'm having a heart attack. I wasn't, but I thought I was. The pain had gotten so severe it was radiating up into my chest, into the muscles of my chest. But we rushed me to the hospital, and the minute we get there and they do the first x-ray or MRI or whatever they do, they all realized it was cancer. And I mentioned in the video, they got crazy with it. I think it was a blessing that the doctors had to say to me, we don't have a cure for your cancer. That was the first big blessing was getting tapped on the shoulder and saying, you gotta go to the hospital and discover this. Cause how can you fight an enemy you don't know is there? So that was my blessing, to have that pain, to make that trip to the hospital, to have doctors that recognized how serious it was. And then, to me, they took the choice off the table. If they had said, oh, we have something that'll work fine, and in a few months you'll go through a little hardship, but it'll all be behind you. But I'm one of the lucky people that they said, we can't fix you. You are going to die of this. It is going to eat you till you're gone. And we can't stop it, but we might can give you a couple more years of misery. And it's like, that wasn't a choice. Y'all just heard that. I call that a blessing. God took that choice away from me. I think that was a blessing. I'm glad they didn't have anything. Then, the gynecological oncologist is brilliant. I needed a hysterectomy 3 years before that, and the OBGYN I was seeing, I was having some issues, and he put me on some hormones, and he goes, oh, well, you responded so well to hormones, I'm 99% sure it wasn't cancer, you're fine. He could have run the CA-125 blood work for a minor amount of money at any given time and known for sure, because cancer is a slow process. Most people have had it 8 to 12 years before it's discovered. And why do most women with ovarian cancer die? Because there is no pap smear that can get the tissue. There is no known biopsy for them to do. But guess what? There's blood work they can do. Why isn't every woman at age 50 offered a CA-125 test? They want you to do a pap smear every year. Guess what? If they don't get a little scraping from exactly where that tumor is, they still don't know you have cancer. So this fight could have started a long time ago. And I recommend every woman that thinks there's a remote possibility, or after the age of 50, demand that your doctor do it. I don't care if you have to pay for it. Blood work isn't as expensive as cancer and surgery and all that. So I think that's probably the biggest tip I have for y'all. She was a wonderful surgeon. The original gynecologist said that my issues were too big to be done through Band-Aid surgery, and we were gonna have to do an old-fashioned vaginal hysterectomy and try to get everything. She said, this is a piece of cake, no problem. She was fabulous. And it's Dr. Destin Black. She's here at Willis Knighton. Brilliant surgeon, but she's also the bully who said, if you won't take chemo, I won't do the surgery. And if y'all are paying attention to Chris Warwick's website, it's on my email. So the latest email I opened today, I watched his video where he's interacting with a girl named Julia, or Julie. Her story is exactly the same. She had second stage ovarian cancer, and she's off in some other state, I don't know where, but same thing. They insist you're gonna have the chemo. They told her it wasn't gonna help her. I just learned yesterday that it also causes deafness. I mean, there is so much damage being done by the chemo, and her doctor was the same way. If you're not gonna have the chemo, I'm not gonna have anything to do with you. Just go home and die. Whereas there is the oncologist in Florida who is saving people's lives all the time, and I'm gonna get back to her in a little bit. So, blessed with a brilliant surgeon, blessed with cancer that had not invaded any vital organ, when God tapped me on the shoulder and sent me to the hospital. Blessed with a man in my life that loves me and shows it more every day since the diagnosis. What a help, what a buddy, what a guy that's been there. You hear about women who get sick and the guy in their life leaves them. he's older and he's got a few more aches and pains and a little more deteriorated than me, but I'm the one that ended up with the life-threatening disease. And God, has he stepped up. I mentioned on the video, blessed with a family that not only loves me, but found it in their hearts to support me through this terrifying trauma. It is a trauma. When you're sitting in an oncology office and they say, well, there's not really anything we're capable of doing, we know nothing that's gonna stop this, it's way too late, too bad we didn't find it sooner while it hadn't spread and all that. My family has had cancer. My sister's husband died of cancer due to things that you know, Agent Orange and stuff like that in Vietnam. And of course, they took the traditional route. He's one of the ways that MD Anderson learned how to cure Hodgkin's. He was an experimental, you know, where they just used him to figure out what to do. And he lived 36 more years with the neuropathy in his arms and legs, with heart trouble, with a sensitivity to everything. He resigned from society. If you came to their house, he went to the bedroom. He never came to another family meeting. He never went back to church. He couldn't be in a crowd. But he lived 36 more years to raise their son. So that was her blessing. But because of that, she could not believe or understand that I wasn't gonna try. So it got emotional, believe me, it got emotional. But once I was on my track,
Katie barred the door.
well, she still came to everything with me. She lives in Monroe, we live here. She would drive over in the mornings and be here for the doctor appointment and drive back. Whatever it took, she was there. And one of the smart things she did, and I don't know where y'all are in your journey or what illness, but from the very beginning, she said, you need a journal and you need a notebook with a copy of every single doctor's appointment, results of every test. I had volumes. I'm starting a third volume of a 3.5-inch binder with nothing but lab work and x-rays and PET scans and every trip to the doctor that we do here. She has been there with us, and she was the one having a fit. My other sister flew in from Atlanta to sit down and hold my hand and tell me I just couldn't choose to die. It was beautiful and yet painful at the same time, because they didn't believe what I was doing was right, but they respected my choice to die if I couldn't find a way out of this. I couldn't do the chemo. I just couldn't. I heard me say it over and over again. I know it is poison. Then of course, blessed with a loving daughter that found a natural practitioner that is a brilliant doctor. I was gonna wait. We were going for Thanksgiving. I was gonna wait and just call him while we were there, because it happened to be in the town she lives in, and say, I've got cancer, what can you do for me? And she suggested that he might not be available on the drop of a hat or a pen, and you need to call now. And this was September. As soon as I was diagnosed August the 16th, September the 15th, I had the hysterectomy, and by the end of September, I was on the phone with this doctor. She found him because a close family friend had been saved. The doctors had tried chemo, radiation, everything they knew for this man. He had cancer all intertwined in his lower spine. Young man in his 30s. Couldn't play with his boys anymore, couldn't run his business. They told him, go home, write your will, pick a coffin, you'll be dead in a couple of weeks. He went to see this doctor, and the man saved him, just turned it completely around. Well, this doctor would not even let me set foot in his office until I saw a bio dentist. Very different than your typical dentist that's cleaning your teeth and doing x-rays and telling you, well, you've got a cracked crown or whatever. It is a known fact that 93% of all women that have breast cancer have got a root canal on the same side as the breast cancer. 93%. They wanna tell you.
Where's that statistic?
Pardon?
I'm just curious where that statistic is.
Off the internet. My daughter, read it. And, the holistic doctor agreed with her that, you know, it's a known fact. What it is, every single tooth in your mouth has a nerve that feeds it and a blood vessel that feeds it. And all that bacteria that just swims in there day and night, gets picked up by that blood vessel, and it goes back down into your lymph nodes, all under here and here and here, to get cleansed and recycled. And so those breast cancers, a lot of them are being caused by bad dental work. Any root canal in your head, you need to go have the tooth pulled. If you crack a tooth and they say root canal, just tell them pull it. It's the cheapest way to do it, and it's the healthiest way to be. So I had 4 teeth, 2 on this side, 2 on this side, that had root canals taken out. They drilled out some old amalgam type fillings and put clean stuff back in. And then I had a tooth that had come out, or that I had to have removed, and I had a bone implant done, and it never took. That was done by a normal dentist here. It never took because it wasn't clean enough, the bacteria layer, that they don't ever go to the extent that a biodentist does to sanitize that.
Right.
So that bone graft was just sitting in that jaw, never weaving in with my bone. I don't know all the way to talk about it technically, but it becomes the matrix for you to regenerate bone and become all one piece. And for 5 years it had been in there. I've never gone and had the implant put in because the thing never would take. So when I went to the biodentist, as soon as you sit down, they take your blood, put it in a centrifuge to get down to your stem cells. They do all the surgery to remove everything, and the last thing they do before they close up that jawbone is spray it with ozone, which kills all bacteria, viruses, everything that it comes in contact with, and then they put your stem cell right back into that hole, and within a month, you've grown all new bone. It's different than seeing a dentist. Your local dentist is not working in that realm at all. They're doing the routine maintenance stuff.
Can I interject this for a second?
Yes.
I have a book called Root Canal Cover-Up, that you can check out. It just so happens it's at my dentist's office right now. I gave it to him and he said he was gonna read it, so, it's true what she's saying.
You know, can I ask a question?
Sure.
You know, in every industry that I know of, I've been a financial planner and I've been in real estate, we all have something that is called continuing education. We learn all the new things that are happening in our industry.
Right.
Where do the doctors? I mean, look at, got a
Exactly.
mouthful of this and that and everything else. Don't they ever pay attention to that, or, you know,
If the dental association, the National Dental Association, ever admitted that they're putting toxin into millions of people every day, they couldn't withstand the lawsuit.
well, that's,
Right.
that's true.
So they'll never admit it. I guess if you knew the right questions and what, the truth about what you're looking for, you would know how to kinda search for the right person.
Mhm.
The same way I didn't know anything about holistic doctors. I didn't go to the doctor once a year to renew my thyroid prescription, you know. I never had to research, I never had to figure any of it out, but boy, have I learned a lot.
Do we not have any holistic doctors here in Shreveport?
Holistic dentists?
Or dentists, or?
No, there are some in Dallas, I don't know anything about them. Dr. Nunley down in, is it McAllister,
Marble
Texas?
Falls.
Marble Falls.
Marble Falls,
Who
Texas.
said that?
I
You did, how do you know him?
had an appointment with him in July.
Fabulous, aren't you smart?
Yeah.
I've done a lot of research, and I've been scared whether or not to do it, because I went to an OMD up in Texarkana, and he said, well, you know, it's bacteria, if we can get the bacteria, you may not have it done.
Dr.
So
Nunley is fabulous. I've
Nunley's
heard
gotta
him
go
speak
see.
twice.
I would like to ask you, did you go to him?
No, because he couldn't, he's trying to retire, first of all. I don't know, are you seeing him or one of the people
No, I'm
he's
seeing
trained in
him.
his office? Well, you're lucky. I needed to get to Florida to the natural doctor, and he couldn't get to me before long after Thanksgiving. It was gonna be the first, January of the next year.
Too late.
And the doctor in Florida said, don't worry, I have a biological dentist in Sanford, which is about a 2-hour drive below where my daughter lives. And when we got there,
Who was taught by none.
he was
Stephen
trained by Nunley. They had just been on vacation together, one of the
Oh,
reasons I couldn't
wow.
see Nunley.
That's
And he
amazing.
said, he's the godfather to my kids or something, so.
So did the doctor you go to in Dallas notice, the thing is, I was wondering, how do you know if what they're doing is really connected to cancer? How do you know that? Because
Well, you're
my root
removing-
canal is on the opposite side.
You have
of my
breast
tumors.
cancer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All I can tell you is your immune system is having to fight that mess all the time. The toxins, the bacteria, all of that. If you just get that out of the way of your immune system, you've got
Process of
that much
elimination.
more to work with to fight the cancer. Okay?
There's plenty of research out there, you just gotta look for it.
You're doing the right thing by seeing Nunley. He's like the kingpin, and there are people scattered around that have been taught by him. And I tried to get to him, and just felt like mine was a bigger emergency, it had to happen now.
Yeah.
So I had surgery one day on this side and surgery the next day on that side. And they thought I was crazy when I looked at him and said, if you don't put me to sleep, I'm not coming back. I went for the checkup one day when we got there that evening, was gonna have the first side done, and I said, well, whatever your bill for today is, I won't be back, because I don't do pain. And they were very helpful, just did house in, which I think is like a Valium type thing, didn't know a thing. But it's the cleanup method that makes, first of all, they believe in getting rid of the cracked tooth. There is no way that they have an instrument that will fit all the way down into the inside of the point of that root to get all the infection out. They can't do it. You should pull that tooth. And that infection just keeps festering in your system. So your body's been fighting that ever since you got that root canal. What they do, when they clean it out, when they take that tooth out, they're looking at the bone and all the infection there. And by putting that ozone, I don't know how many of y'all have studied all that ozone is good for, but when they put that ozone, it instantly gives you a clean palate. They just spray it in that hole. And then they put your stem cell back in, the blood they took in the beginning, they'll put it right into that hole, and and I'm fixing to have implants done now. And they're x-raying and going, oh my God, look how much bone structure she's got. Where did you have teeth in there? Cause it's all bone. We don't see the pocket where there used to be teeth.
Oh, that's amazing.
And we've done no bone implant at all. So
I have a question,
it
does
works.
insurance take care of that?
None of it.
So see, a lot of people aren't as fortunate as you.
You're right. That's another one of the blessings I hadn't gotten to. I am a, real estate investor. That's why Lewis has to take care of my books for me. And I had to sell off 5 properties to fund the entire program, not just the dentistry. The 5 surgeries I had, 3 on this side, 2 over here, was an $8,000 bill at the at the dentist. And that was just the beginning, because then the holistic doctor I saw in Ocala, Florida, he didn't process insurance, wasn't going to, it's cash every time you see him. And it starts at $275 a half hour just to listen to him talk. Yeah. So we were bleeding money for
Did
8 months.
he give you, can I ask you what he prescribed for you? Was it homeopathic?
Oh,
Was
yeah.
it nutrition or
He
something?
did all kinds of testing.
Chinese medicine?
Lot of, all of the above. First he, did blood work to find out where I am, full of parasites. You might think you're not, but full of parasites. So we went on a how to kill parasites thing. My adrenal gland just overworked. Well, that cup of coffee every morning was killing me. Now I don't think about it. He goes through you minutely, every single thing. One test cost me $2,200. Just, he does a 23andMe. You see it advertised for $100 on television. That was a $1,800 test because there is a medical group that takes your genetics that you get from 23andMe and then can identify all your little DNA connector, whatever. Are you a doctor? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how to say it, but the little connections there, they will pick the most important ones and tell you everything about you. My daughter and Jerry sat in the room with him going through this test, and they can tell you things you do, your personality, things that you respond to in certain ways because of this and this in your genetics. It was amazing. Things I've known I was allergic to, they confirmed it. So none of his work was paid by insurance. Even now, I'm seeing integrative medicine doctor in Dallas. They'll pay for his office visit. Medicare will pay for his office visit. They'll pay for thyroid exam every, however often they let me do that normally. They will pay for x-rays and PET scans and normal things. But when I show up and get 2 IVs a week, no, I'm paying off the hip with that. So but why have a big pile of money sitting there if you're dead? I don't need to leave my children rich. I mean, I'm sorry. I taught you well, go out and do the best you can. I'm gonna live. I'm gonna be here to laugh, So, you had another question?
I wanted, not to take away from what you're saying, I
Yeah.
wanted to share something that I found out about financing.
Okay.
Because I've looked at going to different clinics. If you have a life insurance policy, there's something called a viatical settlement.
Right.
Have you heard of that? Okay. So through cancertutor.com, I connected, and several of the clinics, all connected me to Sky in Florida.
Okay.
Who is a viatical, they have insurance that's set up to do basically an investor who bets against your
Right.
right? So, concept is $100,000 policy, they buy it, you get $50,000 cash, right? They take $50,000
Right.
and all that. Nobody, like 3 or 4 sites that recommend him, nobody ever said there's another option. And I'll share that with you tonight. It's called a, accelerated death benefit.
I used to sell them.
Okay, so I don't qualify because I'm not gonna be I'm not terminal in 12 months, you have to be terminal within 12 months or something like that. But in that case scenario, you get $50,000, but you also get to keep $50,000 of life insurance. You don't have to give it to investors. So just in case anybody is in that case scenario, there is another option that may be
That's good
more
information.
financially beneficial for you and not having
We're all
to go through a
learning,
third
yeah.
party. You have to check with your life insurance policy.
Cindy, my mom was just diagnosed yesterday.
Wow.
She just got diagnosed with a 17-centimeter mass on her liver.
Oh, gosh.
And it's
On her
primary-
liver, not in her liver.
On her liver. Well, they said her
That might be
liver.
a good thing.
They said her liver. And they said that, the 2 things that would cause, usually your liver is a filter, so they thought at first, my brother-in-law's a doctor, and visiting with him, he thought maybe it might be in her colon, because it being a filter, your liver being a filter. So when she had the biopsy, they had to go through her rib to do the biopsy. They did the biopsy, and they found it was cancer, and they called it primary cancer, meaning it was primary
That's the
liver
spot
cancer.
it started.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's not a secondary.
It's not metastasized.
Right.
That's not, that site isn't metastasized.
Right, that's the only place that it was. So, of course, when we first found out, it was the Tuesday after Labor Day, she was like you. She, had a spell, and she thought it was indigestion, but she didn't have a gallbladder. And it started to, when she went to the bank, she did her banking and all, was going to the grocery store, made it to the grocery store, sat in her car, and it started intensifying. By this time, it was going into her chest. She thought she was having a heart attack. So she called her doctor's office and they said, we're gonna send your paperwork to the hospital, just go on to the hospital. She drove herself to the hospital. She got there and they ran all her tests and discovered that it wasn't her heart. And the next day they ran, because of where it was at, the pain, they ran a scan and found the mass. And so she just had her doctor's appointment yesterday when they, from the biopsy and all, to get a result.
Can they operate?
Well, they said 17 centimeters, and now if you do that, it's like 8 inches. When you, okay, they said it's too big, because they would have to take the liver in order for it, they'll have to shrink it first.
Isn't the liver one of the organs that will regenerate?
But they said that, yes, it's true, it will regenerate, but there wasn't gonna leave her enough to live on. That they would have to take her liver. It was just, it's
I
that
go
big.
somewhere like MD Anderson or something and get a second opinion.
And that's what she's planning. She is going to get it, because she's in Kansas.
Look at the difference between Destin Black. I give her all the credit for being a fabulous surgeon, but the attitude, well, yeah, just, you're not my patient anymore because I wouldn't take the chemo. And then there's the oncologist in Florida. We called about 8:30 in the morning to say, can I see you? They said, come in at 1, and she sat with us in that room until 5 o'clock that evening and never left the room. Looked at all, I had 3 previous PET scans with them shrinking, and she just said, I'm here for you, whatever you need, any advice. She did, and I was getting around to that one of the blessings. I'll finish that later. I just wanna say there are other people. It's the difference in looking for the right dentist. It's
Right.
research.
Well, yeah, now she lives in Kansas, so, what she's doing is she's gotten that report. She's told the doctor she would like to get a second opinion, and she really does wanna go to MD Anderson. And, so she has a sister that lives in Houston, so who's retired now, just
Mhm.
newly retired, who can help her through this.
That'd be wonderful.
And so, and I'm only 4 or 5 hours
Yeah,
from her,
yeah.
so, you know, at least I'm not that much closer.
They wanna check out Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
You know what?
Yeah.
That's another thing that was a shocker.
So
My
I
sister,
wanna know that information from you, if you don't mind. so I can
Cancer
share it
Centers
with
of
you.
America, and they're on TV, their ads on
Oh,
TV
yeah.
all the time.
I just came from there today.
Is it
I
Oklahoma?
called them.
Not in Oklahoma, there is one in Oklahoma, my insurance isn't covered, so I go to Georgia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
But
my
they-
sister that flew in from Atlanta, she had it all planned. She was taking me home with her and putting me at Cancer Center for America in Atlanta. And when we called, they don't take anybody on Medicare.
No, they don't.
I
That's
don't
right.
understand that.
That's right.
We're the guys that have all the problems. You're on Medicare, no ma'am, click.
They don't get enough.
That was a stunner for all of us.
See, and she's on Medicare, my mom,
Yeah,
and she's
I know.
Well,
on
they
Medicare.
won't see her then, don't even bother.
Yeah.
They won't
Will
see
they
her.
see her at MD Anderson, you know?
Yeah, they'll take it in there.
I just retired from MD Anderson, and they're great, they really work good with me, so, it's a
Good.
really great place.
I was gonna mention, when the doctor spent 5 hours with you, you know, well, let's go back one step. When the other doctor, well, if you're not gonna do this, I'm not gonna do. How deflated, you already feel like you're at the bottom of the ocean kicking beer cans. And then
You're
you go
right.
to another doctor, and they sit down, and they truly are interested. Your positive mind starts getting, you know, it starts working. I had a friend that had a nephew. I lived in California, and he was dying of cancer. He was stage 4, and we had a doctor come in, and he put his skeletal system up there, and tell you how old I am, Pac-Man because they were doing Pac-Man, and he says, oh, you like Pac-Man, so the doctor put in red where this child's cancer was.
Yeah.
He says, all day long, I want you to sit here and eat him up.
Mhm.
Do you know that child went in remission, became a doctor, et cetera, et
Wow.
cetera? And I know the positive of thinking of the mind is so unbelievable
Right. Yes.
with all these other things.
Well, I can tell you, when they sit there and just look you right in the eye and say, there is nothing we can do, nothing. But in the meantime, one of my later blessings on this list, the oncologist in Florida was one of the people the FDA had let, use her clientele, her patient base to work with the new, genetic manipulation, the immune system manipulation. I don't know the right word for it,
Immunotherapy?
immunologist, immunotherapy. And so in February, we were there, and she said, Susan, I think I have something on the horizon. By the time you come back to visit your daughter in September, October, Thanksgiving, whatever, I think I'm gonna be able to offer you a cure. She said, I have the longest living patient in the study on that immunotherapy program. And she said the FDA is beginning to open it up to all cancers. I think it started out just lung and skin cancer or something.
It's
Like,
unlimited first.
very limited. But in her practice, they were letting her use it on other people, and she said, we've gotten word they're fixing to open it up to all cancers, so I probably can offer you something that it's working for all of my patients. So, when we were there in April of this year for my PET scan, she said, it's all good now, the feds are letting us use it on all cancers. Would you let me do what is now called a liquid biopsy, which is just drawing blood again? Because my two remaining tumors are very hard to get a biopsy. And she said, I'm beginning to rely more and more on liquid biopsies. It's kind of a new thing, sort of.
What is
And
it?
she's finding that they take blood work, and I guess from the blood they can figure it out. It took 2 months to get the results. And the blessing there is, my mutation won't respond to it, so that's off the table. I don't have to make that decision. I need to keep doing what I've been doing that works. And she looked at me and said the same thing, Susan, you're beating this, keep doing it. Just, why am I telling you how to get rid of it? So, I'm grateful that I don't have that big a decision, because nobody is telling you what the side effects are. Nobody's telling you what the side effects are, just like they don't tell you with chemo. And so, the fear that would have caused, the question, the guilt, I didn't do it when I should have, it was there, God put it in my way, I should have done it, regrets, or, why did I do that, now look what I'm dealing with, something else, regrets. God took that out of my way, I don't have to make that decision, and it's so guilt-free. I consider it another blessing. So, I know they're doing good stuff, they're trying, there's other things out there, but it's just not in the cards for me, If there aren't any more questions, I'll see if I can find out where I was. Blessed with the means to fund my cure, and friends to help with my business. When we lived at my daughter's for 8 months, I had to have people see about those rent houses, and it's been amazing. I have an air conditioning guy that I have to fight him to pay him now, because he contributes by taking care of his cancer patients. Well, when I'm calling you to a rent house, he says, yeah, but that's how you get the money to take care of your cancer. So I'm fighting with these people to say, no, you have to take my money, or I can't call you. I mean, it's not right. Your family deserves to eat and pay a house note too. But it's just amazing where the blessings come through. Blessed with living with my daughter, and she's turning 50 in December, which tells y'all I'm up in the 70 range. Anyway, that was an eye-opener. I haven't lived in her house since she left for college we haven't lived in the same home on an extended period. We visit a lot. She has a 26-year-old daughter and a 16-year-old daughter. And they've been long-distance grandchildren. You know, we see them at Christmas and summer for a week, and we go there, they come here, but it wasn't the same as all of us living in one house. And it was a beautiful experience to get to know her as a mother, as a wife, as a homemaker, running a beautiful Christian home and raising two gorgeous girls. And we're closer than we've ever been. We appreciate each other in a totally different way. And for her to become the caretaker too, that reversal of roles, it's really a beautiful thing. So that was a great, the next blessing I have was finding a doctor in Dallas, because now we can live at home. I'm far enough along with my progress. I understand the program enough. I'm doing that recommitment every morning to keep doing what I've been doing. And as it said on the video, I got to where the doctor in Ocala does do IVs, but he never had me at a point where he was ready to convert to IVs. And
What's in those IVs?
Yeah, talk about
well,
that.
for me, that doctor determines when you see him and what your blood work looks like. He determines what you're gonna be treated with each time you see him. And if you're an ongoing patient, you see him about once a month, and he lists all these different IVs he thinks you need. Diflucan is a mold killer, fungus candida killer. That by IV, he does medical grade hydrogen peroxide IVs. They do ozone, where they take a pint of your blood and fuse it with, I think, 100 cc's of ozone and something else. I think they have to thin it some so it doesn't coagulate. What is that? Saline. And then they give it right back to you. And that, think about that. Every blood cell, it's going to every cell in your body. Ozone. What else? I had a list.
Does he do IVC and the Myers cocktail and liquid amino acids and things like that?
Yeah, he rotates things according to what your blood work looks like. And
Does he do hyperthermia or hypothermia?
he has a hyperbaric chamber, and it's a mild pressure. It's not like the diabetics go in. I haven't done that.
You talk about cold therapy though, right?
No,
Oh, you're talking about
heat
there.
therapy, I'm sorry, I'm saying it
Okay,
wrong.
I do something similar.
Is it hypothermia maybe?
Yes.
Hyperthermia, okay, that's what
Yeah.
I thought.
Okay, the doctor in Florida that I was originally seeing, wanted me to do far infrared saunas.
Right.
He said it penetrates 4 inches deep into your skin, and you have to shower immediately, because all that toxin you're sweating out, you'll just reabsorb if you don't get a shower. And y'all, one of the biggies is the water. Every shower you take, you're inhaling so many glasses of chlorine and fluoride and whatever bacteria. If you ever put a filter system on your incoming line, and it's one that you have to change frequently, you'll be shocked at all the gunk and the crud and the trash and the bacteria and the slush that's in that filter system. So the doctor in Florida immediately said, you've got to put a filter on your shower head that stops all chlorine and fluoride from coming onto your body. When you do the sauna, you have to immediately get in the shower and wash all the toxins away with clean water.
Did you have a car infrared sauna?
Yes, it wasn't a real expensive machine. It's just a little dome. When you're laying on the table, it just lays across you like this. And it's a far infrared. It's called a Qi. And you just put in qi.com. And I have a massage table anyway. And I just keep it on my massage table, and I try to do it I used to be more diligent, but if you can do that 3 times a week, you're detoxing really well, and it's penetrating, those far infrared are supposed to be penetrating, and one of mine's here and one's here, so I'll do, you know, on my stomach for half an hour and on my back for half an hour, and just pull it up over me more.
So it's 4 inches, so it's 4 inches.
He said it.
It's only 1.5, does it?
It goes deep.
Does it? Well, that's what they claim, and that's what he said.
So there's some
I use it for an
fine
hour.
between
The timer on it is an hour.
Near-
You need to sweat.
It's a different
You need to
wavelength.
get hot enough that,
Which
you
one
know,
is
you're
deeper?
raising your body temperature.
The far infrared goes deep.
Okay.
The near infrared is the shorter wavelength, which, gets absorbed quicker by the skin. The longer the wavelength, the better it penetrates.
More penetration.
And far infrared is the longer one.
Well, my understanding is the concept is that cancer cells cannot handle the heat.
That's right.
So does that really help get to the cancer cells?
Plus you're detoxing, all that sweat you're doing, you're getting rid of so much stuff.
Cosmetically, they say it's supposed to be good for cellulite in your skin, right?
I don't know, I wasn't researching that side of it, I can't tell you, and I can't tell you it's helped with it that much.
Well, after this summer, we should all be
Blood in the
detoxed.
The filter that you put on your, shower?
We bought the shower filter for my daughter's house through that doctor, and right now I don't know what it is, do you? And we still use that guest shower, we were just there for 3 weeks, and, you know, that's the only shower I will get in. Their pool is, saltwater pool, it's not chlorine, so I'm hoping that's okay. We personally, huh?
That's not good.
That's not good, the
See,
salt water?
just converts to chlorine.
What?
It does?
Well, I only got in it once, so what about, spring water, cause we go down to Crystal Springs and I swam and paddleboard. Is it? So just stay out of the water. All right.
Put on a dry suit.
Do what?
Put a dry suit on.
A dry suit?
So what kind of water do you drink?
Okay, you see this little glass bottle? I don't do anything plastic if I can help it. And one of the big toxins is the BPA's out of the plastic water bottles. This bottle came from Olive Garden. They sell spring water. You can have it, effervescent or not. If it's effervescent, it's in a dark green bottle. I've asked my local Olive Garden to save all of those for me. And so, and this little silicone stopper, silicone's supposed to be non-toxic, isn't it? That's everything I'm
For the most
reading.
part.
Hmm?
For the most part.
Better than a plastic stopper.
Yeah.
That thing's down in there so well that I'll stick this in my purse and go anywhere I want to with it. And I can even put a koozie on it but the glass stays cool longer than the thin plastic does anyway.
How about stainless steel? Stainless steel.
Yes,
is okay,
stainless
right?
steel's good.
I have a Berkey filter.
Yes, that's great.
Okay.
I just bought my granddaughter a Berkey. In fact, I just got a thank you card from her today for her Berkey water filter. She had Hashimoto's disease at 5 years old and nearly died. And no, regular allopathic doctor has been able to do any good for her. And so she now has forked up the money. She's employed now, out of college and employed, 26. And, she's seeing an integrative medicine doctor. And the first thing he started on her about was the water. That's just, every time you take a drink of water out of that faucet or take a shower, you're burdening your system.
Yes.
And it's toxic. Y'all do know that the fluoride is just a waste product of aluminum production. And we buy their scrap aluminum out of China and pump it into every water system in America. And it's killing us.
So you can get a whole house filter, right?
We bought a whole house filter from Tri-State. And that filters everything coming in the house. We had a well put in our yard, and we send that well water off and get it assayed. And it's great water to start with. It passes from the well in front of an ultraviolet light to kill any bacteria and viruses, which we had to request that be an add-on. Then it comes through that whole house filter, and then at the sink, I do a reverse osmosis. I had them put that in too. So by then, it's what's called dead water. There's not a mineral or a vitamin or anything good left in it except H2O. So what I do then is add, either Celtic or Himalayan salt back into it. So I put minerals, salt with
You don't
minerals.
want the, you don't want the minerals? from
You
the
do
water?
want the minerals.
That's what I'm saying, why would you take out, why would you do reverse osmosis when
Get
you've got
everything
great
else
well
out
water?
this bag.
I'm filtering that water down to just the H and the,
But
Oh.
you're just controlling it is what you're doing.
I am taking every toxin,
You're not
every
assuming
pathogen,
anything.
everything I can out of my water. And then, when I put it into that little bottle, I just dump a little salt in there. And from the beginning, I know people say, oh, stay away from salt. From the very beginning, both doctors insist that I need to take as much salt, as long as it's either Himalayan or Celtic, as I can. I was so dehydrated, it didn't matter how much water you drink, if you don't have the right minerals to be able to absorb that water, it's not doing you any good. As you drink from your plastic water.
I know. But it's back there.
That's right.
My birthday's too big to bring up here.
And the Berkey, the doctor, my granddaughter is seeing it in Atlanta. I did the research and settled on the big Berkey because it came with a fluoride and chlorine filter. It is a machine that if we have a catastrophe, or you have a water break on your line, and they say you can't drink it, you can take that Berkey out and dip ditch water or river water, and you're gonna have clean, completely ready to drink.
Yeah.
Berkey.
You can take
Big
the-
Berkey was the one that already, for the price, came with the chloride and fluorine. My granddaughter's in an apartment. She can't put a whole house filter on, and she can't put a reverse osmosis, and she can't do the things we've done so that I shower and drink only healthy water.
What they say about Kangen water?
About what?
Kangen water.
I haven't asked anybody, I never even heard of it.
It's,
What, Kagan water?
Kangen water is a reduced, it's an ionized, reduced molecular water. It's highly alkaline, highly acidic, produced through it. Okay, I've been drinking it for 8 years and I got cancer, right? But I also been drinking it in plastic bottles. I thought they were safe. Been drinking 4 quarts a day. So, but it reduces the molecular structure from about, I guess average is 20 down to about 6.
See, I'm not smart enough to do all, I can't answer every question.
No,
I
I'm
never
just
heard
curious
of
if
it,
they,
so.
if they.
Yeah, years ago, many, many years ago. Yeah. Right, right. Well, have the water assayed and see what's still there. Finding a good lab is the next problem. Can I just finish my blessings and then I'll quit? Well, the big blessing is I was blessed from the very beginning with many friends that started praying for me every day. And they put me on a worldwide prayer chain, and something's working, y'all. I mean, it's just amazing. Last but not least, I give my parents a lot of credit. They were healthy people till the very end, but I was blessed with a very practical attitude, a lot of common sense, a can-do, whatever it takes, we get in and do it. Louis knows my family.
Absolutely.
We're a bunch. I'm grateful. I feel it's a blessing that all of it, I said it on the video. I don't remember what I said on that video, y'all. Seeing it every time I hear something different. But it's a blessing that this is happening to you and I in such an information age. It is not as hard to research. I heard I hear something new every day. I watched the Chris Ward thing today with Julie, and heard about things I haven't found in my research. The blessing is, it's a modern age. We don't have to do what the doctor who, has one path that he has learned. It might not be his fault. That's what they train him for, to use the tools they want him to use. But the doctors who have had near-death experience or someone that they love, they then are looking for that other path because they know what has and hadn't worked. I believe with all these blessings combined with a commitment to a healthier lifestyle have given me a chance to live longer in good health and happier with a new appreciation for every day.
You look
It
a lot
changes.
younger.
Pardon?
You look fabulous.
Thank you.
You look cute with your haircut short.
Oh, thank you. You don't really need that. I do. What?
Can I say one thing before you finish?
If Sandy will let you.
Yep, Susan said in her discussion that her sister from Monroe came over to see about her, and that her daughter came with us when we went to the doctors in Florida. Besides the love that comes from both of those people, understanding who they're dealing with, the other thing that came from it, and what started some of it, was that they became the stenographers. Because you're sitting there listening to somebody tell you how bad you are, or what's wrong with you, or all this other stuff. You can't remember it all by the time you get home. And if we sat down and talked about what we heard,
It was always different.
it
than
was
what
different
they
than what
were
she
writing.
heard, because she was, figuratively speaking, a disinterested person who was copying everything that was going on. And at the end of the day, it was all transcribed, so that if you wanted to refer back to have a discussion about it, there it was, word for word. Just a suggestion, if you have somebody other than facing it by yourself,
It helps to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really helps. In fact, we ask doctors when we sit down, can we record this? And none of them have said no, they don't have a problem with it, so. Yeah, you're wiped away the minute they open their mouth. Didn't you ask me something? And I didn't answer it. Somebody did. Dr. John Ganino. It's Ganino Wellness Center, and he's not all the way in Dallas. The neat thing is, he's in Heath, Texas, which is the east side of Dallas. Heath? Heath, H-E-A-T-H, pardon?
How do you spell his last name?
G-O-N-I-N-O.
Ganino Wellness Center.
In Heath, Texas, on Horizon Boulevard. And it's a very small community. It's part of Rockwall and Terrell. If you know Terrell, you just go a little past Terrell, you're in Heath. And his office is wonderful. His staff is wonderful. And he is very faith-based. And his introduction to you is, I'm not the one making the music. I'm just the pipe that the Lord is blowing this song through. And the difference in the two doctors, the Florida doctor, he didn't ask you, he told you. He has a hard personality to cope with. I guess he has to fight a lot of people to get their attention, I don't know. But Dr. Ganino walks in very humble, will pray with you, and he says, anything we bring up here, we're offering it as a solution that we hope will work for you, but you're the one in control of all of this. He doesn't say, if you're not gonna do it my way, you just need to go. Whereas the doctor in Florida won't take you unless you live there, and he won't take you for all these other reasons unless you agree to, and Ganino is very humble and kind and has a fabulous staff. It's a big operation. Their IV room, Jerry, would you say is 20 chairs?
Oh, yeah, it's probably a third, minimum of a third of this room, this whole room.
And, faces the woods and a lake, and they're just wonderful there. It's expensive, because Medicare won't pay for the IVs, but they'll pay his office visit, if he sends you for any blood work or, you know, scans or anything like that, they file all that for you. So he is a doctor, is it DO? DO, is that more training, or what is that?
Seems to be the way to go down there.
Isn't it like 800 extra hours or something crazy like that beyond medical school? And what brought him to alternative medicine, and I'll hush as his wife was dying of thyroid cancer, and the doctors couldn't save her, and he started searching the world and reaching out to contacts all over the world, and figured out there's other things we can do. We're not giving up this fight easily, and this is 15 or 20 years later, she's still by his side, so that's what brought him. And the first doctor, his wife died of some kind of cancer, and he feels very guilty about it, and that's what got him started in it. So most of your integrative, true medical doctors that are now incorporating these other things, they do it at great risk, because the FDA can come in and shut them down at any time. And Ganino has been threatened. Thank y'all for listening to me. I
My
appreciate
mama
it.
needs to talk to you.
Well, my number is 272-9948. And if you want her to see Dr. Ganino anytime soon, I'll go with you.
Oh, bless your heart.
It's,
I don't have his number, I would give it to you. Thought it was in my phone.
Or if you have an email address, maybe you can give them, if they have
I don't,
questions. No, you don't do email?
if
Okay.
you wanna talk to me, you better ring that phone, because if I ever look at my email, it's only.
Okay.
I have just one or two.
Sure.
I also do microfrequency. Has anybody ever heard of that?
Like the rack machine?
Yes, a Rife machine. I have one at home, and I'm fixed to invest just a little more in it. Microfrequency, the theory, and it's been proven correct, all living things have an electrical, a resonant frequency, thank you. And they can only live within a certain range. They cease to thrive if you go too high in that range or too low. And I make the analogy, it's like taking a tropical plant to New York and thinking it's gonna live through the winter, okay? Or an orange tree can't survive when the temperature, so think of it like that. And Dr. Rife in the 20s or 30s proved this theory. And so years ago, I was having pain in my knees and ankles, it was crippling me. And Jerry has a cousin who's our resident health nut in the family, and she had found a Dr. John Garvey in South Carolina, no, in St. Augustine. Who does magnetic frequency. And the second visit she made for her checkup a year later from being cured of, what was her issue? Anyway, on her second visit for a checkup a year later, I went with this complaint. And he treated me with microfrequency, but he first could analyze you and figure out what was wrong with you electrically somehow. And he said, I bet you use Downy fabric softener. And I said, how do you know that? He said, because that's what's showing up in the frequency. I won't go into all that detail because Sandy's hovering over me. But literally, I was crippled. What? Downy?
People want Ganino's numbers, and that's it right there.
Okay, then Dr. Ganino's number, I just touched it wrong and lost it. It's 469-402-2880. Anyway, so he treated me for 3.5 days by telling me, he sits you down in front of a microfrequency machine, and his was designed, it had a little picture of a dog on it, because it was illegal to treat people with it, but they know it works for animals. Every racehorse in Shreveport gets treated by Lenora with a microfrequency machine. If they tear a ligament or pull a muscle, or have a little cold, or anything like that, they're treating animals with it.
Yeah, water ski with the guy that was trained by her.
Really? Okay.
I've had some of that ointment on my.
I love having a doctor here that can verify some of the stuff I'm saying.
We're gonna have to wrap it up.
We gotta go, okay. Microfrequency is one of the things I do, and if you wanna talk about it, call me.
We have food back here that's,
Well,
plant-based.
we gotta do our video too.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, let's get that done.
oh, we should have started that 15 minutes ago.